about the talent level you have.
Oh, right. Yeah. Easier to play pick and roll and then play in the blender out of that if you have the talent. But if you don't, it comes a bit stagnant, right?
Yes, talent and skill can create things
Yeah.
out of an action that has been broken or disrupted by defense, but the freelance game, drive, kick, extra pass, and then cuts need skill. It's not easy. We
Right.
always say, I'm a coach. Some coaches say, I give freedom to my players.
Yeah.
If you don't have some rules, there's no freedom. There will be like confusion. And the line is really thin, I believe, between those two.
Well, Coach, it's 9 o'clock my time now. I think 5 o'clock
Great.
your time. So let's get started. I know we got quite a few more coaches that'll be joining here probably in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but we can just get started now. So thank all of you coaches for joining that are on so far. We're lucky to have Coach Kostas today. I originally connected with him in a group chat, right? Much similar to what we have with Pro Coaches Academy. While I'm much more active in the Pro Coaches Academy one, I'm in a group chat with Coach well, that he's very active in, and I learn a lot from him. Very experienced, just kind of seeing the things he puts in the group chat. I love just his content, his knowledge of the game. Currently, the assistant coach for well-famous club Olympiacos, their women's club, and coach has worked from pro all the way down to youth and all levels in between, which really gives him a good feel for just the game of basketball in general and how to teach it. And if I'm not mistaken, worked for Olympiacos U18 as a head coach and assistant coach, development team, Triton Basketball Club. Am I correct?
Brighton was in the past.
Yeah, in the
I
past.
was in the past, yes.
And three-time Greek League champion. His resume goes much longer than that. I'm kind of condensing it here. He's attended the EuroLeague head coaches convention. He's attended NBA training camps. He's gone to watch D1 teams practice. So he's been around a lot of basketball
Lay
and
down.
very experienced. And today he's going to talk about Zoom action options. So I'm excited about this. This is what we do with Pro Coaches Academy. I started it in Vietnam, so we try to have one coaching clinic per month in Vietnam, but we opened it up internationally. So we're having one every month right now with a different speaker. The last one was also a Greek coach on Princeton, and now we get another Greek coach with Coach Kostas going on Zoom offense. So with that said, Coach, you can take it away. You can present, and it's your show.
Thank you, Matt, for inviting me. Experience comes by making errors, by trying things, failing or succeeding, and then trying again. So the same with players, coaches. We try to try things, and then when we fail, we try to think to see why. Uh, so I chose the Zoom action options because it's an action that in the last seasons is really used a lot by many coaches, and it's a trend that gets many teams scoring options. I first used it heavily back 2009 when I attended Penn University in Philadelphia practices, training camp, and then Brad Stevens in Boston Celtics training camp. And our head coach was there of our men's team, Coach Barzokas, really famous in Europe, and he tried to implement it in our men's game. And me, as a coach, the last season in the women's club, I tried to implement some Zoom actions too. I like the action for some reasons that I have written in a short text. Zoom action options, also known as Chicago action, because a D1 program, Loyola Chicago, had used it in the past, so some coaches may use the term Chicago action. It's usually a pin down screen followed by handoff or a dribble handoff, but it can also be another off ball screen, like a screen away, a gut screen, a down screen, anything. An off ball screen after, and then a handoff or a dribble handoff. So by doing so, defense needs to deal with two consecutive actions. That's the difficult part for defense. You don't have to deal with only a pin down or a gut screen or a away screen, but it's followed by another action, a handoff. So offense needs to read two situations, the off-ball screen and then the handoff. What I like most about it, it can be used to start the set play, It can be used as a bridge to connect the actions in between, or you can finish the play with it to attack. And you can play with most commonly used sets, like starting with horns, like 5 out with 5 on the top, with point formation of Princeton, with flex, with motion strong, that's the stagger away formation at the top, with zipper action, and with many actions. Of course, always timing and spacing are the most important elements in any offense, and we need to have attacking mindset. Guards getting the handoff after the off-ball screen should always try to attack the gap when there's a gap. And big should always read their defender and dive, pop out, or short roll after the handoff. So you need to read the space and the coverage the defense tries to implement during the handoff situation. The variations include gut zoom, high zoom, stagger zoom, and grenade zoom. This is terminology. Terminology that makes everyone hearing something and everyone think the same thing. So stagger is 2 screens in a row. So stagger zoom should be 2 screen away, and then handoff situation, let's say. We'll see that in a moment. And of course, the off-ball screen reads are the classic ones. If the defense trails, then the cutter will curl and the screener will pop. Second option, the cutter will exit to the 3-point line and the screener will flash inside. If the defense tries to go through the screen, then we have a fade and a big to change the screen angle. And then if the defense tries to deny the screen, to play top lock, let's say, then we can reject the zoom action, back cut, and the screener will pop. We'll see the options from the weak side later. If the defense switches, then the guard could exit and the big could slip the screen inside for a quick flash and an easy layup. If after the screen, the first screen, let's say it's a pin down, we don't have a scoring opportunity, we go to the handoff to complete the zoom action. If the defense trail in the handoff, so they try to play over the handoff situation, the ball handler should try to attack in the gap and the big should dive to the rim. If you have one player in your backside or 2 players, there are different options. If the defense tries to go through the handoff, then as an option, we like to run a re-screen. For us, it's better for the ball handler, if he sees his player going through the screen, is to create space by making 1 or 2 dribbles to the same direction and wait for his big to re-screen with a diagonal or flat screen angle. And we like to do that with 1 foot or 2 feet of the screener inside the paint. Of course, to avoid the second through action from the defender. If the defense tries to deny the handoff, then the cutter needs to cut over the handoff and sprint to the rim to complete the backdoor cut. If the defense tries to disrupt the handoff by pushing or by denying the pass from the player of the screener, then the big should fake the handoff and attack. This is called keep action. If the defense hedges, then it's the same with like we play pick and roll. The ball handler should make 1 or 2 or 3 dribbles. The big should make a short roll, and then the guards near the perimeter should make a triangle spacing. Like they should be higher and ready to receive the release pass to find the pass inside or continue the play. Now, I have in the PDF, like for 2 minutes, the diagrams of the basic formations. Let's say this is the delay zoom. We have 5 out and we have 5 on the top receiving the first pass. Let's say 1 passed the ball to him. Then 1 makes the pin down screen, he sets it, and we have this pin down to dribble handoff. This is called delay zoom. Delay is called because, of course, the ball is going to the top of the key, so we don't have an imminent attack. From the same formation, if the defense plays, let's say, top lock and denies the pin down screen after the pass, 3 can reject the pin down and cut back door, and then we can play zoom weak, zoom from the weak side. So on the weak side, we have another pin down, and then a handoff, dribble handoff. So we have the zoom action in the weak side. Same formation. Third option, we can have a pin down. If the defender trails the cutters, he can make a curl, a tight curl, really good pass here, opportunity on, you can post up a big guard here if you want. And then the screener, this here is our point guard, can return and receive the handoff. This action is called a twirl because it's like a circular action of the two players. The Warriors did that a lot in the past with Curry and Klay Thompson. And if you try to play the same action, but the screener clears out to the other side, of course, the other players maintain spacing by lifting to 45 corner, from corner to wing, and from wing to the slot, you can have a dribble handoff empty side. So you can play two-man game in one side. This is called zoom empty. Now, out of point formation, after the pass to the 5, the one point guard makes a cut over the ball and sets the pin down, so we have point zoom. And if you play from the other side, we have 3 players. This is called high zoom because it's set higher on the court, above the 3-point line. This is called high zoom. A gut screen is a down screen when the screener is inside the gut of the paint, in the middle of the paint. So combining gut screen and dribble handoff, we have the gut zoom. If you have 2 screenaways instead of 1, we have the stagger zoom. So you have a player, you need to get the ball, your scorer, your best 3-point shooter, your best slasher, let's say. You can set a stagger for him and have the big bring the ball with a handoff or the dribble handoff and have all the space for him to attack or to shoot. And 2 other sets, out of horns, really popular. The first screener pops out, the other big sets the pin down on the weak side. We have horns pop out and then zoom action. And the last situation I'm going to show is the grenade zoom. Grenade is when the big has the ball in the low post and dribble handoffs the ball upward to the wing. So we combine this with an away screen for a guard, and we have the grenade zoom action. Now, I know I showed a lot, but this is a PDF of the ingredients, let's say, the reads and all the variations and all the action options I have seen and I have run. Of course, after the zoom action, you can have a pick and roll, you can have flare, you can have another off-ball screen or a low post action. But this time we're focusing on the zoom action and how you're going to get the ball and how you're going to attack. So now I'm going to share a video edit I've made with the most common actions and options out of it. This is the most common entry. The ball goes to the big. You have a screen, a pin down, and then a dribble handoff. Out of it now, you need to read. As we said before, if the defense goes through, we can set a risk screen, but we have a great shooter here with the ball, and he has space. He can take an open shot. Out of horns out situation now. You can see here that the player, the defender with the blue shirt, tries to play in front. So the player from the corner rejects and he clears to the other side. So the big here has 2 options. Play from the weak side, where you can see the other big sets another pin down, or play for the same side with this guard. He chooses to play with this. So he plays the DHO with him. You can see that after the dribble handoff, the defender went under. So the big changed a bit his angle. And we have an attack on an empty side because the cutter rejected the zoom action and went to the other side to clear out. So we have a 2-man game. Again, out of 5 out. Now is the pin down with a tight curl option. Twirl action. So the screener will pop out after the curl and he will get the dribble handoff. And with this player cutting to the other side, we have a whole empty side to play the dribble handoff or the quick pick and roll on the side. Here's a great opportunity to reject and attack the rim. 5 out again, now with the 4 on the top. Again, we have the pin down, dribble handoff, zoom action, followed by a top pick and roll. This is really common in EuroLeague the last 2 seasons. Dribble handoff for a ball handler, and then pick and roll out of the zoom action. Now we combined 3 actions in a row for defense to disrupt. Okay, now is the heads out, so we need to retreat. The big has made a short roll. The backside player made himself available to find a triangle pass. And because he was open, he took an open 3. Of course, spacing is everything and timing in every offense. Out of horns out action, the defense tries to deny the first handoff. So the point guard will make the overcut. And the big will choose this time to play weak side. So we have a zoom from the weak side. The whole defense is in motion. The whole defense is moving. Here the defense tries to play trail. They were good getting inside. The big sprint to the basket, make a really good dive. So the backside should be here to make this backside triangle. Of course, someone from the defense, the last player, should bump the dive or should be there at least to intercept any low passes inside the paint. So this player should be on the backside, approximately the free throw allow extended in the wing to receive this backside pass. Defense can't cover everything or stop everything. So you need to make triangles, backside, frontside triangles after the zoom action to have someone open to shoot or attack. Dribble handoff, the defense is moving, and now from the weak side, we have the zoom action. Pin down, dribble handoff, and now is the situation I mentioned before. Defense goes through, and the ball handler will create space. Creating space is really important for me as a coach because now, with 1-2 dribbles that Misic made, he has brought his defender in front of him at the top of the key, and now Jokic can set the screen with diagonal angle. You can see that. And he has created a double gap to attack. More space for him to attack, to take a shot, or to penetrate, attack the big. If he has stayed in the same position on the slot, he would have less space, like 2 or 3 meters less space to attack. So it's better for me for a wrist screen to create some space with 1-2 dribbles on the side. 5 out, delay, zoom action. Here the screener, after the pin down and the dribble handoff, will clear out. You can see that he cleared out to the other side, so that player will lift. So now we play 2 versus 2 in one side. And of course, because this player is moving, he will force his defender, if he's not really concentrated on team defense, to follow him. That's the lift, the clear out, the spacing. We need to attack the gap every time, and we need to dive on the empty side. So because this player didn't realize that now I'm last, now I need to be the last player under the rim or bump the big, we have a really easy situation for an alley-oop. Moving the players while is there the action on pick and roll and handoff situation is really important for me because the classic cell offense, let's say spacing, like 2 on the back or 2 in the front, just be there, is not efficient enough for me in a whole season because teams are adjusting on your offense. They try to disrupt the main action. They try to be really good on helping and rotating. But if you have some secondary action like that, like a clear out, or a weak side action like a 45 cut that many teams in Europe have implemented in the last seasons, it's really tough for defense to disrupt everything. Of course, you need really good timing to do that, not to have 2 people in the same area when cutting. Again, delay formation, 5 out, 5 on the top. And then we have zoom action from the weak side again. And now we have a different formation. When you have 2 non-shooting bigs, so this player here is not a good shooter, this player here is not a good shooter. That's far forward and center for Spain. You don't need to have him on the corner or on the backside because the defense will help from him, will sag in. So you can play in the short corner. So this is a really good opportunity to see that after a zoom action, you can have an attack on the gap because this defense tries to trail and play over. And you can have this not so big hiding in the short corner of the weak side, putting the defense in a really difficult situation because his player here should be last. Of course, the big dives outside of the paint now. So this spacing is really for not too bigs, but it's a really good pass to have a dunk or an easy layup. So we can see we have different formations and different alignments, and we can have really different situations finishing inside. So if you have a non-shooting big, you can find a solution. Don't have him on the three-point line, but have him in the short corner, making an inside triangle. A couple of more situations. Again, from delay action, zoom, delay formation, zoom action, my bad. And now after this, you can set a flare screen. If you have a big, that's a stretch big, a good scorer, or you can have a small forward that can receive the first pass as a top player. After this, because the defense focuses to disrupt the zoom action, the handoff, you can set a flare screen higher. You can see here it's set on the slot. So all the side is open for him to curl, to catch the ball and attack, to get an open shot. So you can create this situation 2 versus 1, because everything in offense is about creating advantage, 2 versus 1 situation, one side or the other. After a dribble handoff, some people call it pistol action. Again, the ball goes to the big in the top of the key, delay formation, zoom action on the weak side. And here, the guard that initiated the dribble handoff will set a back screen. So like we played the zoom action from a weak side, but we ended like we played the Spain pick and roll. This is really tough for defense to disrupt if they don't have it from scouting, because it's a quick action. They all focus on the scorer and the big setting the dribble handoff. And this back screen is really sneaky, really difficult to disrupt. Really, it needs more communication. And of course, after the attack, I need to show that again. You can see the screener reading where the gap is, because they tried to switch guard with guard, but the on-ball defender stayed with Tatum in the situation. So the guard setting the ball screen went outside. He was completely open for the shot. With a confusion, with a defense, a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, it's open. And of course, he needs to be on the back, because in that situation, he's the backside player of this triangle, big perimeter. And you need to be playing in triangles in offense all the time to have good spacing and good actions. Stagger zoom situation. Pass to the slot and then 2 screens in a row for your scorer. You can dribble the ball to him or you can wait him. This is situation reading. Defense trailed. The big tried to disrupt the attack, but here he's parallel, so the guard can attack to the paint in the paint. But the whole situation is to give your scorer the advantage early, before the handoff, to get his defender 1 step late. Now the defense is forced to guard him with 2 players. And if the big is not that good of a defender, or in this situation he doesn't have the quick legs to stop him vertical here, you can have an attack. After a simple stagger zoom, 1 action. Gut zoom, a down screen in the heart of the paint, in the middle third of the court, and then a handoff situation near the free throw line. After this, you can see that the player that set the down screen, the gut zoom, is the backside player. The big is trying to seal inside because the 4 tries to bump him, and the 5 tries to recover because it didn't switch big to big. And of course, you have shooters in the corners to space out the defense, to stretch out the defense. And after this, you need to have triangle formed, triangle spacing 4 out, 1 inside, in order to find the open teammate. If the 4 here didn't bump him, it would be an easy dunk. But he insisted, and here offense read the situation correctly and found the open man on the backside again. Here, we have a motion stroke situation. This is the stagger in the corner. The Spurs ran it a lot, like 8, 9, 10 seasons ago, as an entry action. They have had many options. Italy national team ran it in the World Cup in 2019 mainly, and lots of teams ran it mainly in the NBA in college game, less in Europe. But they start with this action for a scorer, and they have many options. Here's Durant with the Nets. He rejects the stagger because his player plays top lock, so he gets inside the paint. They have the secondary action, the counter. They flow into point. The ball goes to the big, and they have the split action, which gets to point high zoom because it's set over the 3-point line. So the high zoom, screen away, hand off. There's a gap. Durant finds space for him to shoot. Of course, for any other player, this shot maybe is not the best solution. Maybe as a coach, I told to my player, here is your open teammate. He's a good shooter, pass him the ball. That's the best pass for me in this situation. But here's Kevin Durant. He can take the shots and he can make most of them. Nice situation after a shuffle. I've put different formations and sets to show that, like in theory, down in practice, you can start with shuffle, you can start with horns, with flex, and then flow into the zoom action. After a shuffle screen, the ball goes to the point, to the slot. We have a high zoom situation again. Defense tries to steal the ball. You can see his arm extended. So we have the overcut. When you make an overcut, you need to finish your cut at the rim. It's like the same thing as the 10-year-old kids we teach give and go. Always finish your cut at the rim. The rules are the same. Finish your cut at the rim to be a threat, because there should be a gap. Maybe you should score. If you don't score, then you'll make the defense collapse. And maybe the corner is open, the next situation. Last situation, the grenade. The ball gets in the low post. After you have a screen away, this is called split the post. And then, instead of a pass and a shoot and a shot, we have the grenade, the dribble handoff. Especially in the grenade action, because it's reversed, it's from inside to outside. The big should stand here and take a contact, because it's like, as we say, an outside elbow, a screen for the ball handler. So here, you can see he occupies the space. He creates some space for his teammate. Really good shooter. He could attack. In that situation, he could also attack. I want to show this again. He has the space after the grenade zoom action to attack. Grenade action for me in general, with zoom action or not, is really effective. And if you work it with your players, you can have 3 or 4 situations per game and create scoring options on earned fouls. So here he could attack the big. Okay, with this corner, he should have a corner player on the other side to kick out. This player could be on the elbow, this player could be on the top, and have a different spacing. But after the grenade zoom action, the defense it's hard for defense to disrupt, because they need to play opposite of the flow of the game. To sum it up, 3 things. Force defense to guard 2 consecutive actions, sometimes 3, if you combine it with a pick and roll or an off-ball screen to the other side. Second, attacking mindset. If the defense doesn't play heads or trap, and they play drop or they play through, attack them, set the screen with space created, and attack. If you attack the rim, then everything opens up. And 3, it's really great as an action. It has numerous options. I only showed the ones that I deem that they are mostly commonly used and mostly effective. Probably you can find more searching the YouTube or anything, For me, the best thing is that you can start a play, or you have only quick action, like the stagger zoom I showed, or run off it, like we play delay, ball to the 5, zoom action, and then we read. And we play the team game. Drive, kick out, extra pass, or set another dribble handoff, or set a side pick and roll to finish the action. So you play with structure, but you have given your players freedom to read the situation and find their solution. And of course, you can bridge actions like start with a flex alignment or a horse alignment or any alignment you want, like diamond, anything. And the second action would be the zoom action. And then after it, you can have the final action, like a pick and roll or a low post action. And of course, you can finish it. It's the third action of a long play, like we play flex, pass, cut, flex screen, screen the screener, pass, dribble handoff to a zoom action, and then a pick and roll. So if you like as a coach to move the defense, to make the defense guessing, to force the defense to miscommunicate, because when you run the actions correctly, with good timing and good spacing, one defender will make a mistake. It's mathematically proven. Because any good defense will try to disrupt the pin down or the gut screen or the screen away, then they'll try to disrupt the handoff. But if you have a previous action or you have an after action, it's really tough for them to communicate. If they switch everything, then you need to teach your players how to exploit the mismatches. Outside mismatch on the perimeter or inside mismatch with a big against a guard. And of course, as I showed, the triangle form spacing on the back side mainly and on the front side sometimes is really important to end with this spacing, because you have good distance between your players to find the extra pass, to find the open teammate, and to make defense stretch. You can't have players being in the between positions, like mid-range positions. The one exception I showed is the one you don't have one shooting big. You have two no shooting bigs in the lineup. You can hide someone in the short corner. This is really sneaky, and if you work it, like Coach Katas did it in Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Coach Panone did it in Hapoel some seasons ago, the 3-2 pick and roll offense with two no shooting bigs, it's difficult for defense because now everyone is used to guard 4 players out, 1 inside. But you need to have really good timing and really good spacing with a weak side to do this.
You got some questions, Coach, in the chat.
Yes.
First, while the zoom action is taking place, do you think it's better on the weak side, the player's 2 passes away, to be in the short corner or at the corner? What's your opinion on that?
Take place, do you think it's better on the weak side? Yes.
You see that one in the chat?
Yeah. As I said earlier, if he's a shooter, I prefer him to be on the corner to provide more spacing. Now, if he's not a shooter, he can do 2 things. Either cut on the short corner, like we saw in the video of Spain national team, or he can set a flare screen, a hammer screen, because the ball is on the other side. So with non-shooters, we can either make them cut, or we can make them set screens and then flash for the ball. It's really good for me to have players that they are really eager to compete and help their teammates if they're not good shooters. They know their weakness, but if you show them the way, like in this situation, when you're in the corner, don't stay in the corner, because your player will help, and that team, the opponents want to help out of you. They want that help coming from you. So they're playing their defense. No, if you see that you remain in the corner for some reason, cut in the gap, even if your player is there, no worries. Try to be one step, available, or set a hammer screen, a flare screen, will help your teammates. And you can train that by putting the player there on practice. So for me, it's about the skill. If he's a shooter, I prefer him on the corner. If he's not, I prefer him on the short corner or setting a flare screen, a hammer screen.
You've got another question. In your opinion, would it make sense to run zoom action with a player who starts off in the dunker spot? or is that too limiting in terms of spacing?
Okay. This one, I will try to sketch it in the diagram. I need to share the screen again for a moment.
Yep.
Okay. So
Coach,
if I understand,
more questions, feel free to put them in the chat also.
if I understand this correctly, let's say we have the ball here at the top. We have a player in the dunker spot. Have the other players like here. So, let's see. Nope. Okay. Now we have the player in the dunker spot to start with, like the ball handler gonna take the ball. This is the gut situation. This is the gut zoom screen. So if we start like this, yes, dribble handoff. The whole thing about this is where the screener, will go after setting the screen. So we have the handoff here. And after this, when two gets the ball, we need to have this player four going somewhere. He can go to the empty corner if there is an empty corner. If one was in the corner, he could go to the opposite wing. Or we could run the good old college roll and replace, which is really difficult for defense to disrupt, except for if they have two bigs that they are interchangeable on defense, like they have really similar size or defensive skill similar. So in this situation, roll and replace, they should call switch. So they disrupt it. But in this situation, if we have this player in the dunker starting, is the gut zoom situation. So we can have three different options for the screener. Exit to the corner, to the wing, or here. Or you can have the Spain option with a shooting four or with a guard, if a guard is there.
Hello,
If I
Kostas.
understood correctly the question.
Hello, Kostas.
Hello?
Hi. Regarding the previous question that I made, don't you think
Yes.
that the spacing is too limited if the player is in the short corner when you have the high zoom action? Like it's like 1-2 steps away from the roll of 5 after the DHO.
So not the players in the zoom action, the players
Not
outside
the
of the
player in
action.
the zoom action. On the weak side, the player.
Yes, instead of being in the corner, being in the short corner.
Yeah. Don't you think that the spacing is too limited?
It's a bit limited, yes, but if it's not a shooting big, maybe he could be there. But as I showed right now, for me, the key in this action is the screener. So let's say we have, where is it? Let's say we have a high zoom action, you told me.
Yeah.
Okay. High zoom means that three players are over the 3-point line.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. And we have two players in the corners. And you say that the weak side player is in the short corner. Okay. If he's not a non-shooting big, he could be there. He could be there because he's opposite from the big diving to the rim. So for me, it's not bad spacing. It's an inside triangle situation that was used in the past a lot when we have two bigs that they played both in the low post. So it's not a bad spacing, but you need to work on it as a team to have, the correct timing, the correct positioning. For me, if you do it correctly, it's really tough for defense to disrupt the inside triangle. I've seen that teams that run it correctly, worked on it, it's difficult to disrupt.
So you will
The
have
player
it.
guarding that player has his mind that, okay, I'm inside now. I'm ready to bump the dive.
So you will have him standing there.
Let's diagram it a bit. Let's see if we can see it a bit clearer. Okay, because diagramming helps a lot, I think, visually. Okay, so I need to share one more time. Okay, sure. Okay, so we have the high zoom action. So we are here. That's the high zoom action. So let's say we have 4 on the weak side, correct?
Okay.
And instead of being here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, 1 will have the ball after the handoff. We have 5 diving in the rim from that angle. So 4 here needs to read his player. If the defense plays like drop, over, and drop, we can attack. So we can have the defense behind and 5 trying to contain the drive. So the only player that could be as a last, it should be the player guarding the 4. Correctly? So
Correct.
in this situation, if he tries to disrupt the dive, 4 will be open. And if because he's not a good shooter, he could make a layup or a close shot. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
the
better for him
question
to be
because
here because here he's a threat.
yeah,
Okay.
that's my question.
So
Like
this
these two
situation is
players
not.
they are standing
Yes.
two steps away. I think that the X4, the defender of 4, can guard both of them if he's quite big, let's say, long.
This distance is like 3 or 4 meters. So because a quick action, if 5 try to contain the ball and 1 is a bit late, 1 step behind, then 5 will be completely open for the dive. Even if X2 comes here, then this player is open. So
Yeah,
for
okay.
me,
I'm not talking about the X2.
yeah, I understand. For me, if you stay here, you're not a threat. So defense wants to help from you. So here being, it's like you won't shoot if you're not a good shooter. If you shoot, then you're 20% shooter from the 3. Then it's not a good option for our offense. So I prefer for you to be here, to cut here, and make this player guess. Should I go there? Should I stay with my man? It's not easy for him to go. And if I fake this pass and pass here to recover, it's really, really tough because the
Yeah,
distance of
no.
this pass is 4
Mm-hmm.
meters, 4.5 meters, 5 meters tops if you pass from the semicircle. So for me, it's a difficult situation for defense here. If you have a not shooter, it's good because you form an inside triangle here.
Okay.
So it's not
Good,
limited
thank
space,
you.
it's depending on the skill of your players. But it's a really good question, Antonis. Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
Coach, that reminds me a little bit of the 32 offense that you mentioned from Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Kind of that big to
Yes.
big action. If 5 catches it quick, he can dump down to 4. But like you said, you got to practice that, right? But
It's a
presents
narrow space,
passing to
but
bigs. Yeah.
it's a narrow space, but we coaches always say space is good for offense and narrow space is good for defense. Correct? Correct. So in this situation, it's a narrow space, but if you have the timing and you have attacking guards and a quick big that can dive, then this triangle here is really tough to disrupt because it's a 3 versus 2 situation. 3 versus 2. Okay, inside the paint, but it's 3 versus 2 still. And you make, of course, 2 versus 1 because this guy here doesn't disrupt anyone anymore.
Yeah. Hey, coaches, could you please mute? Okay, thank you. All right, you got another question, Coach.
Okay.
Just what's your approach in the process of teaching Zoom actions to your players?
Good question. As in every off-ball methodology, you need to start with 1-0 and use some cones or markers on the court. And of course, you need to have your players before that how to set a screen and how to receive a screen. This is for all of ball situation. So now, for Zoom in particular, you have 2-0. Pass the ball to the coach at the top, let's say, and you have the pin down screen and off the ball. So you need to first to secure that your players know how to read the first screen because the zoom is the second action. Like pin down to handoff or screen away to handoff. You need to exploit all screens. If you want to go to advanced level, like, okay, our players know 90% reading, the pin down, the gut screen, the screen away, the stagger screen. Now we need to elaborate more and focus on dribble handoff after that screen. So you run the actions 2-0 and then 3-0. And then the next is 2 versus 2 and 3 versus 3. Coach can be the passer at first in order to show the options that the passer has, the handoff player, of course, and then put your big on the situation to play. And you can play 2 versus 2 big with guard after that, and you can play 3 versus 3, 2 guards and big. So methodology is always from simple to complex, from easy to difficult. So 2-0, 3-0, you mix guards with bigs. Coach can be the handoff player at first, and then 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, guard with big or 2 guards, and then 3 players, 1 big, 2 guards.